What's up? What's happening? What's going on? When you think of terrible free agency quarterback signings, you think of the Cleveland Browns. I could potentially make a list entirely of Browns quarterbacks, but I won't, because other teams are almost just as bad at finding an elite quarterback. These are the 10 worst NFL free agency signings of quarterbacks ever. Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn put up a pair of epic performances as the Green Bay Packers understudy, one of them in which he threw 6 touchdowns and everyone was thinking he was the new GOAT. With that, he was among the top quarterbacks to hit the open market in 2012. The QB-desperate Seattle Seahawks handed Flynn a 3-year contract worth $20.5 million, but they drafted Russell Wilson in that same year. Flynn became a really expensive backup, and the Seahawks would trade him to the Oakland Raiders after just 1 year. Flynn never really got his chance to be a full starter again. Jeff Garcia. A 3-time Pro Bowler with the San Francisco 49ers, Jeff Garcia did a pretty good job in replacing Steve Young. Garcia was consistently among the league leaders in passing yards and touchdowns. After the 2003 season, Garcia signed a 4-year contract worth $25 million to who else other than the Cleveland Browns. That's a ton of money for a guy who played only 11 total games in Cleveland. Garcia tossed 10 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. That's it. Kerry Collins. It was time for Kerry Collins' run to end with the Giants. They traded for Eli in 2004, had Kurt Warner, and I guess a Super Bowl losing quarterback had some real free agent possibility. Collins signed with the Oakland Raiders for a 3-year contract worth $16.8 million. In 2 years with the Raiders, Collins tossed a whopping 32 interceptions. He was cut after 2 seasons, and the Raiders would recycle quarterbacks until they found Derek Carr. Mike Glennon. Drafted in the 3rd round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2013, Mike Glennon showed promise in his rookie season, tossing 19 touchdowns and only 9 interceptions. He would eventually get hurt, lose his starting job to Jameis Winston, and so on. For some reason, the Chicago Bears were enticed enough to give him a whopping 3-year deal worth $45 million for a guy who's played 21 career mediocre games. Predictably, Glennon struggled and lost his job to rookie Mitch Trubisky. Tarvaris Jackson. The Seahawks opted to end Matt Hasselbeck's era and replace him with Tarvaris Jackson. They gave him a 2-year contract worth $8 million. In 2011, he tossed 14 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and then they traded him to the Bills in the following year. They brought him back in 2013, and then he won a Super Bowl as Russell Wilson's backup. So, I guess that kind of has a happy ending. Jake Delhomme. Things used to be nice for Jake Delhomme. The 2005 Pro Bowler led the Panthers to a Super Bowl 38 appearance and an NFC Championship game just 2 years after that. But after a miserable 2009 season in Carolina, it was time for a change. The Browns, of course, signed Delhomme to a 2-year contract worth $7 million. That brought him just 5 starts, and in it, he tossed 2 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He was released after 1 year. Josh McCown. The veteran quarterback has been on almost every team throughout his career. You guessed it, Cleveland Browns saw something big in Josh McCown. They gave him a 3-year deal worth $14 million during the 2015 offseason. Why? It's the Browns. His season was limited to just 8 games, and then the next season he missed 11 games. He was released, and the Jets ended up picking him up. Scott Mitchell. In 1994, the Detroit Lions handed Scott Mitchell a shiny 3-year contract worth $11 million. This is because of a solid showing in 93 when he replaced Dan Marino in Miami. That being said, despite an extremely impressive showing in 95, he never led them to a playoff win, never led them to anything really significant. 79 touchdowns, 57 interceptions. He was okay, but really a waste of money. Neil O'Donnell. Despite leading the Pittsburgh Steelers to a Super Bowl 30 appearance, Neil O'Donnell wasn't exactly a super quarterback. He had never tossed more than 17 touchdowns in a season, and he only clipped 3,000 yards once. But in 1996, O'Donnell signed a 5-year contract with the Jets worth $25 million. He lost his first 6 starts with gangrene and then suffered a shoulder injury. He improved slightly in '97, but refused to restructure his mega deal. Brock Osweiler. After 4 years of being Peyton Manning's understudy in Denver, Brock Osweiler was ready to be a starter. Following the Broncos' Super Bowl 50 victory, John Elway let Osweiler go and join the Houston Texans. They handed him a 4-year contract worth $72 million. This is a guy who had 10 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in the previous season. He had 15 touchdowns and 16 interceptions with the Texans. In order to get rid of him, they sent a couple of draft picks to the Cleveland Browns for a 4th-round pick. What do you think is the worst NFL quarterback free agency signing ever? Join me in the comments below. It's early here, so I'm a little tired. If you're new, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Until next time, I'm Mike Cantalupo. Thanks for watching.